أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear viewers, brothers, sisters, lovers of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome to the 10 series episodes on Ahlulbayt TV titled Karbala's Inspiring Spirits, where we learn certain attributes from the holy personalities that we see in Karbala. Inshallah, I will be joined by some amazing guests on every episode where we will recite poetry, nohas, latmiya, in honor of the personality that we will be remembering on that episode. Today's episode is titled Learn Bravery from Akbar alayhi salam. And alhamdulillah, I am joined by my dear brother and an excellent poet, Brother Muhammad Abbas Jaffer. Salamun alaykum, my bro. How are you feeling today?
Alaykum salam. I'm feeling good. Thank you for the invite.
No, thank you for coming. And it's individuals like yourselves that inspire us and inshallah all the viewers as well when it comes to the service of the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. So to start with, when you hear the name of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, what goes through your mind? What are the feelings that arise within you, would you say?
I think the first thing that I think of is his bravery in many different aspects, but also his servitude to his parents.
Ahsant.
Being a son, I think I looked to Ali Akbar to see how did he treat his father, how did he treat his mother, and in what little way we can, we try and emulate that.
Absolutely, subhanallah, really well put as well. And I think it'll be a nice way, inshallah, to start the show with your permission, if you can bless us with a poem that you have written, inshallah,
of course,
in honor of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, would be amazing. Let's start with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
And I've asked Imran if he can have a small part in my poem.
Bismillah, thank you.
Ahsan. Hussein stands in silence in the land of martyrs. At Fajr, when all is covered by the hand of darkness, he hears a voice that sounds just like his grandfather's.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Surely Allah is greatest. But this is Akbar. Look how similar his face is to the Prophet. No wonder everyone froze as the sun rose and Hussein's son rose, for it was like Muhammad had just rose. No wonder the women cling to his cloak harder and harder. No wonder Hussein shakes his Akbar, puts on his armor, follows behind him, his heart beating faster. Oh Akbar, you'd understand my pain if you were a father. Oh Akbar, you'd understand my pain if you were a father. And on the battlefield, it was like Haider had risen. His sword had glistened as he cut through the kuffar with precision in his mission to save Muhammad's religion. Akbar fought with intent. As Layla watched from the tents, he dealt death to every kuffar that he met. But soon he was spent. And Hussein tells Layla, pray for our son, for Allah surely accepts a mother's cry. Pray for our son, for surely Allah accepts a mother's cry. And just like that, they see Akbar another time. For a moment, Ali Akbar once more in his mother's care dwells. But the women must again bid farewell, and Layla's wails make the air swell, and her cries hung heavy. For Akbar's dry tongues ready for water, even a drop. But when Akbar asks his father for a drink, even a little, Zahra's son's tongue is even more brittle. So again Hussein sees Akbar ride out. But this time she hears Umar ibn Sa'd La'in give a vile shout, kill Akbar! Kill Akbar, for Hussein will no longer want to be alive now. So Murra La'in lodges a spear into Akbar's chest, and Layla cries out, Wa Akbara! Wa Thamarata Fu'ada! And this makes Hussein's eyes cloud. He stumbles into the battlefield, scattering the wide crowd, and sees his son bleeding out on the sand. Akbar greets his father, reaching out just a hand. And when Hussein moves the other, he finds in Akbar's chest a spear snapped, pulls it out and says, whilst in his chest is fear trapped, this is my Khaybar, just like my father all those years back. But go Akbar, for your grandfather will quench your thirst as he welcomes his dear back. Welcomes his dear back. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farjum. Thank you so much for a heart-wrenching poem, and I believe you said it's part of a bigger project, inshallah, that we will let the viewers be in suspense of, but something that you're working on. But may Allah bless you and reward you for all your efforts. Seriously good. So basing, I mean, something you said in that poem about the scene when Hazrat Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam is there and his father arrives, and you know the scene where he's pulling the spear out of his chest, an absolute heart-wrenching scene really to even imagine. You know, I think that you can take a lot of bravery from Ali al-Akbar at that particular scene, because if you look at it in our day and age, come today, if there is anything that we're in trouble in, or if we are faced with any tragic event or anything, the first thing we think, call my dad. I need to call him. I need to get his help. That's what we do straight away. But Ali al-Akbar, what he does, he's thinking of his father, how he would view it when he looks at his son in such a tragic state with a spear in his chest. I mean, if that's not brave, what is? You're putting everything, you're about to leave this world, yet all you care about is how your dad is going to view you. I mean, incredible.
Of course, there's so many facets to it, aren't there? There's the bravery, but there's also the selflessness.
Absolutely, yeah.
That this is my last moment on earth, but my thought isn't about dying. It's not about the pain. It's about how my father feels seeing me.
Yeah.
And I think you look at Ali Akbar, but you look at all the companions, and their thought was always with Hussein.
Absolutely.
Every single moment.
Yeah, and it's interesting because though we've tried to limit each episode to learn one particular attribute from a personality, but it's impossible, right? I mean, you look at Karbala, you look at all the holy personalities, and there's a vast number, a plethora of different attributes and akhlaq that you can learn from them. So what else about Hazrat Ali Akbar? Selflessness is a great thing that you touched on. What else about Hazrat Ali Akbar? Do you learn from, if you will, or our viewers can be inspired with?
I think it's his, like I mentioned earlier before my poem, it's his akhlaq towards his parents. It's his akhlaq towards his Aunt Zainab, to the children, always putting others before himself, giving them water when he could have had the water before, when Imam al-Hussein's army had control. He didn't take it.
Absolutely.
Because I guess he was an extension of his father.
Subhanallah.
He knows what his father would have done.
Yeah.
And he knows I have to do the same.
Absolutely.
It's the same message.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, even when they were allowed that little bit of water, the earlier nights of Muharram, they still sacrificed, and they said, no, there are others, the children, the women perhaps, but they themselves sacrificed, and a lot of bravery within that. But a good point that you mentioned was how respectful he was towards his parents. Yeah. Now bring it to our day and age today, because this is essentially what we want to do. We want to try learn from these individuals. So today's day and age, the way we see children talking to their parents, even talking to their teachers, it's quite upsetting to see compared to a few, maybe back in our time when we were children, the discipline that we had. So what's your view on? And in fact, you're a deputy head at a school, correct?
Yes,
so
I work in education.
So you see children's mannerisms towards teachers. So what's your experience on that?
So in my professional work, I've been teaching around 12 years, and there has been a shift towards, not in a good way, that the parents, children seem to have more control over their parents. Children seem to dictate what happens in the household.
What thing to say.
Exactly. And the way that they speak to their parents, but also the way children have spoken to myself or my colleagues. I'll say it's not like Ali Akbar would speak to his parents. Correct.
Yeah. So I think the foundation is also important as to how parents bring their children up. I mean, for Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, to be that respectful and to be that selfless, it would have come from somewhere, right? And as we know, it said in our hadith, it says, you are what you are because of your father, right? You're a root of your father. And therefore, as you said, he's a part of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, being that selflessness. So is there a way you would say that maybe parents need to adopt a certain way, or do the children need to look at things in a different way based on what they learn from Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam?
I'd say, and this is not, it's not like a blame game.
Of course.
Because like everyone's trying their best. I think in terms of parenting, we can learn so much from, you said Imam al-Hussein, but he's Ali Akbar is the root of Imam al-Hussein, and Imam Hussein is the root of Ali.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
So you look how Imam Hussein treated Imam Ali, and how he would listen to whatever he asked in all the battles. And then you look in this battle in Karbala, when he asks Akbar to come back, as much as Akbar wants to fight, he comes back.
Absolutely.
So I think for children to know that when your parent asks something, whether it's big or it's small, we must listen straight away, because there's a greater thought process behind that. And for parents to enforce that, to send them, to share these stories with their children of these great personalities who have respected their parents and the different aspects and different times when they have respected.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And this is something that we are probably to blame for as well. I mean, right now in our day and age, I speak for myself, your parents will tell you something and you feel you know better. And this happens a lot now, right? You get to an age where you're a father, you're a parent, and sometimes guidance from your parents you may feel as overbearing. And we see this in our communities a lot, that and we term it as interference from our parents and things like that. But they just want the best for you, right? That's what parents do, right? And being a parent, you know that all you want to do is the best for your child. And with that thought, and like you said, if you enforce that kind of atmosphere at home as well with your children and build that friendly connection, I think in this day and age, I think children probably respond to that a little bit better, to say that, okay, my father or my mother, they're being at a level with me where they can understand, rather than do this, do that. If you don't, you're going to get punished. But a bit more of a lenient way, which would actually work with them. And then, inshallah, you can result in a way where Hazrat Ali al-Akbar reached in terms of the akhlaq. Because of the relationship, you can only imagine that beautiful relationship, and the atmosphere in that household of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam would just be magnificent. It would be peace. And
you try your best to create that in your own house.
Yeah.
Having children like you have children, it's not always possible to have that
the
peace in the house. So I do empathize with other parents, but we do our best, and we do.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's quite nice. Something that we are aspiring to at home currently is, when to pray salat in jama'ah together as a family. It's you do it now and again, but I think to make it a more regular thing, it brings a beautiful vibe to the house. It brings a beautiful energy to the house. And this is something that I learned from a teacher of mine. And and I think it's these little things that you learn, techniques that you learn to try your best, because like you said, it's not hunky-dory all the time.
Children you can't do everything. You have to pick what you try.
Absolutely, because like I said, children they're not easy. You have your terrible twos, and then you have like my daughter's like got 4 going on 24. Divas, and things. But I think if you and again in majalis, when we listen to the Maulanas, they give us the lectures. They say, I hear the same thing again and again, where they say, in Karbala, whatever lesson in life you want to learn, look at Karbala. Anything. And it's so true. Whether you look at your trials, tribulations, blessings, your rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anything, how to deal with it, it's there in Karbala. So, it's coming back to Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. One thing that resonates with me as well is, when it comes to his bravery in particular, is the adhan that he gave on the morning of the day of Ashura. To give an adhan on a normal day is okay, like alhamdulillah, your parents have taught you. But to give adhan on the day that you know to be your last on this earth, you know, right? They have this, they know what they were getting into, the jihad that was coming up, the war. How brave is that? You know, what does that tell you? You know, what speaks to you when from that particular act of Ali al-Akbar, knowing that this is your last adhan, and once you deliver that, it's going to start.
It's almost him saying, "I'm ready for this," isn't it? Like he started the adhan. It's almost like the like a battle cry. Almost like listen to this voice and know who you're fighting against, because you've heard this voice years back from Prophet Muhammad.
Absolutely.
So it's almost reminding their enemies of who they're fighting against, but also telling his companions and his father's companions that we're in this together. This has begun. When you said, you reminded me when you said that you pray Jama'ah as a family. Well, that's another lesson from Karbala, because Ali Akbar did the adhan and they prayed all together.
Exactly.
And there's the saying that family that prays together
stays together.
So that's another lesson that you've
Alhamdulillah. And this is the thing, and like you said, you know, it's not easy. You know, we say that we do this, but it's the maintenance to keep going. I mean, you know, you do anything, like you start gym or you start a diet, the initial 2-3 weeks, you'll be killing it. You'll be doing really, really well. But it's about the maintenance. Now, how are you, and that's when your willpower comes in, and that's when your dedication comes into what you're doing. And this, to raise a child like Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam, you need dedication. Your parenting has to be, you know, you have to put everything, what your desires away, and focus on that child, focus on the children. And yeah, so like as you said, when Hazrat Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam gave the adhan, it's a good point where you show the enemy who you are fighting. And you know, it wasn't like they were backing down, but he was just like, here, we're here, come, let's go, let's fight. Because and in order to do that, I think you need to have a certain level of tawakkul as well. You need to have that faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to know how right you are. You must, right? Because if you think about it, Hazrat Ali Akbar, he wasn't categorized as an infallible, right? He was a fallible human being. So, you know, for me and you to get to a stage, you know, for example, if we're in a debate, or take your example as a teacher, you know something for a fact, say something that a science, something that works in your body, that when you're telling the child, your confidence is like sky high, because you know exactly what you're saying, right? And so when Hazrat Ali Akbar is doing the adhan, again, you need to be at such a level, because if you're not sure, you'll waver, right?
Your voice will shake.
Absolutely. So would you agree you need to have such dedication and such sincerity and faith in what you know?
Exactly. And there's more lessons. Sincerity. Have conviction in what you were saying, of course. And like you mentioned just before that you don't get that unless you maintain that level of dedication towards your children. And I think another word for maintaining is consistency.
Yeah.
You know that in whatever situation Imam Hussein would be in, he'd give the same message. Wherever you put Ali Akbar, Karbala, if he was in Sham, if he was in Medina, he would do the same thing.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we need to maintain that, whoever we're talking to.
Absolutely.
Have that consistency.
Absolutely. And I think also in our hadith, you know, it says, try be that same person everywhere, you know, make sure, and a good way to look at this, a good sign is if your salah at home is identical to the salah when you're in the mosque, in front of people, is a good sign. And how many of us can actually say that is the case? Do you know what I mean? So I can't always say that. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're at home, you think, no one's there, just do a quick rapid namaz. But it shows, and it shows the root of obedience, how salah is important, because that will then lay out your characteristics. Because whatever you do with your salah, you'll do with your akhlaq, you will do with your mannerism, your principles and things like that, right? So, and I think I agree, consistency is key. And again, I think when you take on a journey of parenthood, or you take on a journey of raising a family or doing something, even if it's gym, even if it's diet, no matter what it is, if you keep your niyyah, I think everything will boil down to your niyyah, to do this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will succeed. If you know why you're doing what you're doing, rather than from a vanity point of view, know that this is something I'm doing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something I want my child to be like Ali Akbar alayhi salam. I want my child to do this. I want my child to... And then that in itself, inshallah, will change the way you personify yourself in the family as well. So definitely, I think lessons to be taken there.
And also look at the name, Ali Akbar, Ali. So I think it's also important that if you want your children to be like someone, give them that good name as well.
SubhanAllah. Yeah, interesting. I mean, you mentioned names. There are individuals, I don't know if you have an opinion about this, a little bit off topic, but, you know, parents, when they give their child a really strong name, for example, like, you know, Kumail or like Abbas or something very strong, and sometimes it actually reflects on the child in terms of illness. I don't know if you've heard of this, right?
No, I've heard of
so
that.
you have, you know, eczema or sometimes, and then they'll be advised to change their names.
And I think that name for that personality doesn't match.
Right.
But there will be a name equally good in a different aspect that will match.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a case of taking that advice and finding a suitable name for that child.
Absolutely. And, you know, that shouldn't be a case of disheartening for the parents,
No,
because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's best, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's khair. And like you said, an individual's personality is quite important, actually, the way when you mention it. There's so many temperaments that are there. You know, I recently went on this course which spoke about temperaments and color, like you're a red, blue, yellow, or green, and it tells you about your personality and the type of person you will be. And I think knowing and you know, taking a step back sometimes, I think even for us, to analyze the way we are, to analyze the way we do things. Are we you know, those individuals who, for example, like to do things on our own, or do we like to work in a team? Something simple like that, but it will give you an understanding of who you are. Once you know who you are, then you can see, how do I get my way to be like Ali Akbar, for example, right?
Exactly.
What resonates with me? And again, being in a school, you know, you will understand children's revision techniques, right? You have different revision techniques, don't you? In order to how a child can benefit. And so it's all about making sure, you know, you look at the personality type and then work your way through that to become Ali Akbar alayhi salam, or you know, Abbas or Sakina, Ruqayya, whatever, you know, whoever you want to emulate. So I think that personality comes a lot into it, right?
Yeah, and in education terms, you speak a lot about the unique child and how every child is different in their own way, and there's more than one way to reach Allah. There's more than one way in school to pass a test, to revise. So yeah, like you said, personality, you need to know what makes you tick, or if you're thinking about your child, what is best for them, how do they learn, and then guiding them through that.
Absolutely. And again, touching on the personalities topic, a lot of the time in today's day and age, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression going on. And, you know, a lot of individuals blame themselves essentially for not either fitting in or not fitting into society, or what society wants you to think fitting in means. And as a result, you do get a lot of depression. You do get, you know, this lack of acceptance, you know, FOMO, fear of missing out. All that takes over. And I think it's important to know and understand that being a different personality is fine. It's absolutely, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made you beautiful. Allah's creations are beautiful, every single one of them, with every single difference or any single thing that appears abnormal. Again, I put abnormal in quotation marks because it's what society wants you to think as abnormal, right? And so you need to really embrace yourself and understand that, you know, it's not a negative if society makes you feel that you're not fitting in. Know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you with a beauty of your own, a unique beauty that no one else will have. And you need to enhance on that. You need to kind of look into that and say, right, how can I use my skills, my ability, forget everyone else, just with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do I make that connection with Him and build myself to become that Ali Akbar, to become that Zainab? Do you know what I mean? So I think that's really, really important as well. So just inshallah, I think as we're coming towards the end of the show, I'll do a quick recitation. But just before that, you know, what comes to your mind when you think of the musibah of Ali Akbar alayhi salam? In just a few words, you know.
I think it's a great musibah, especially when you look at it now. Being a parent, I can see it from a different angle. How Ali Akbar's mother saw it, how Imam Hussein saw it, and how it would be to come to your son. It's not natural for your son to die before you.
Absolutely.
So for Imam Hussein to live through that is uncomprehendable. It's unimaginable. So I look at it through that aspect, having my own son, but also the way in which he was martyred is something you can't put into words.
It's again an image. You hear of the minbar, the lectures that depict the scene as best as they can through the riwayat that we have, and it's just tragic. It's too much. It's too much to bear for us. Yet they had to go through that. They had to witness that. Imam al-Hussein, like you said, the father seeing his son, and like you said, being a parent. If anything happens to your child, like even small accidents at home. I remember just recently something happened at home with my 2-year-old son, and I just dropped everything I had, and I had to go. You have to run to his rescue or to find what's happened to him, because again, I think you can only understand when you become a parent this particular feeling that it's just nothing matters. Everything blurs around you. All you're focused in is my child. Okay, I wish everything were to happen to me, nothing to my child.
Exactly.
Everything should be okay. So, but yet they had to witness that Imam Hussein had to let his son go right in front of his eyes in such a way that he had to pull the dagger out of his chest. That's just unimaginable. As you said, it's just not comprehensible. So with that, I have, with your permission,
Bismillah.
I have a noha in English, and it's actually titled "Why Are You Leaving Me, Ali Akbar?" And it's Imam Hussein. It's very apt on what we're talking about, how he's telling his son, "Why are you leaving me?" Because like you said, it's unnatural for the son to go first. So inshallah, with your permission, we start with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Oh Ali Akbar, oh Ali Akbar, why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? Oh Ali Akbar, oh Ali Akbar, why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? You are leaving to go and meet your Lord, but I know that your chest will be pierced by the sword. For the sake of Allah, my tears I will hold. As you go to the battlefield, look back at me for one last time. Oh Ali Akbar, oh Ali Akbar, why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? How can a father let you leave his sight? Your face like Muhammad's, shining so bright. Never have I felt pain of this height. As you seek my permission to let you go for the final time. Oh Ali Akbar, oh Ali Akbar, why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? And then Imam Hussein alayhi salam is telling Ali Akbar alayhi salam the difficulties that he's had, and this is what we were talking about earlier when Ali Akbar alayhi salam put everything of his aside, and he was considerate of what his father had been through the whole day. So Imam Hussein says that I have been carrying bodies all day. Now my back is broken, I can't keep it straight. Oh my son, I am tired and afraid. When you fall down on the hot sands, I won't be able to carry you. Oh Ali Akbar, oh Ali Akbar, why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? You have left my arms and headed to your end. For this one moment, by Allah you were sent. The smile on your face keeps me content. But I yearn for you to turn back around and run into my arms again. Oh Ali Akbar, oh Ali Akbar, why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? Now Imam Hussein reaches his body and he's telling him that with difficulty I reach your body. Laughing at you hurt are the enemy. You're covering your chest, please let me see. When you move your hands, I see that knife pierced in your chest, wa waila. Oh Ali Akbar, oh Ali Akbar, why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? And here's when Imam Hussein talks about Ali Akbar's bravery. As your eyes now close, I am left all alone. As your eyes now close, I am left all alone. Such courage and bravery to all you have shown. You fought the only way my father had known. You will now meet your grandfather Ali. Tell him the oppression sees no end. Oh Ali Akbar, oh Ali Akbar, why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? Why are you leaving me, Ali Akbar? Salla ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم أحسن. So inshallah we pray that all our ibadah is accepted. We pray that inshallah we tell our dear viewers that we hope you have learned something from our discussion, and inshallah we hope to learn from you when the opportunity arises. When it comes to Karbala, again, so many lessons to be taught, to be learned, and inshallah we can all take lessons and be inspired from those inspiring souls in Karbala to allow us to align our lives in a way that we become as best as we can like them. So just before we end, your closing remarks on Aliyun al-Akbar, or anything that that you would like to tell our dear viewers, inshallah.
I think whatever problems you have in life, whatever difficulty you have, like Imran said, look at Karbala. Look at Karbala and you'll find that lesson there, you'll find that solution there, you'll find that shifa there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for taking that time out, coming to talk to us. I've learned so much from yourself, and we've gained, inshallah, a lot to learn from, and inshallah go home and discuss with our families so that we can better ourselves and our lives, inshallah, for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Inshallah, we will be back again tomorrow with another episode on this series of Karbala's Inspiring Spirits. Please do join us. We would love to see you there, and inshallah keep us all in your du'as. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.